World of Lucid Dreaming and the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine invite you to join me, Robert Waggoner, as we explore the nature of lucid dreams and the tips and techniques that make lucid dreaming easier and more profound. This is a special event with the World of Lucid Dreaming, Jake Thompson, and myself, Robert Waggoner. I'm part of the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine's co-editor for the past 20 some years. Also, I've been the author of 2 books on lucid dreaming. Some of you might be aware of those. Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self, that came out about 12 years ago, and Lucid Dreaming, Plain and Simple. So I just want to thank everyone for coming and being part of this. What we're going to do, and hopefully we can do this in the future again, perhaps every month, is just have a continuing dialogue between the World of Lucid Dreaming people and also the readers of the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine. So we hope that we can do this in the future, and what we'll try to do today is just get started with our first event, and we'll get better as time goes by. So what I wanted to talk to you about was just tell you a little bit about myself first. I taught myself how to lucid dream a long time ago, back when I was a junior in high school. That was in 1975. So I've been a lucid dreamer for more than 40 years. And what was interesting, I taught myself a simple technique to become lucidly aware that I share in my books. What was interesting, though, at that time, the scientific evidence for lucid dreaming wasn't available. It hadn't even happened yet. And so it wasn't until 1980, 1981 that the scientific evidence came out and I could begin to talk with my friends about lucid dreaming and share my enthusiasm with them. But also what it helped me at that time was just to learn about lucid dreaming. I kind of had a 5 years head start on everyone, and it helped me understand a lot about the way that the lucid dreaming state works. You know, the principles of lucid dreaming that we all need to understand in order to have a long, stable, adventurous lucid dream. And so that's why about 20 years ago, my friend Lucy Gillis and I began this magazine called the Lucid Dreaming Experience. We wanted to hear from other lucid dreamers around the world about what they were experiencing. So in this magazine, if you've never checked it out, you can always go to luciddreammagazine.com. It's for free, so there's nothing you need to buy. Just sign up if you want to, or just keep checking the World of Lucid Dreaming Facebook page, and we'll put each issue there. But in each issue, what we do is first, I'll interview a lucid dreamer, oftentimes a very experienced lucid dreamer, or in this case, this issue, a unique lucid dreamer. Then we'll have 5 or 6 articles that people submit about lucid dreaming, sometimes with different techniques that they've used that have helped them, sometimes people who want to explore certain topics in lucid dreaming. And then the final 10 pages is reader-submitted lucid dreams. People like yourself who just want to share an interesting lucid dream they had, the very first lucid dream they had, or just whatever is happening in their lucid dreaming life. And what's always fun when you read the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine is you realize that a lot of people are approaching lucid dreaming from their own perspective. Some people are really adventurous. Other people are really experimental and analytical. Other people are focusing on topics that you probably never thought of. And that's one thing I love about the lucid dreaming experience. It just makes me think of a lot of new ideas that I've never thought about before. So sometimes I'll read the magazine and somebody's experience and I'll think, oh, that's impossible. You can't do that. Or can you? And within a week or two, I'll have a lucid dream where I'm trying to do the very same exact thing. So I think it helps us keep our interest in lucid dreaming alive, and also shows us the depth and breadth and vastness of lucid dreams. So what I wanted to share at the start of this conversation is just 10 or 15 minutes here about my interview with a young woman Jana Heinke. She's was born in Finland, but what's unique in her case, she was born blind. She's never had the capacity to see. And so what's interesting here is that she became a lucid dreamer. And I just thought this is so interesting because most of us, when we think about lucid dreaming, we focus on the visual cues. You know, we see something impossible and, you know, we see our hands and we have 7 fingers and we go, oh, that's too weird. This is a dream. But here we have a blind lucid dreamer who is becoming lucidly aware. And so in the interview, my first question to her was, can you remember your first lucid dream? What happened? And she replied, it was in January 2022. I was lying in my bed next to my husband. Suddenly, my blanket started to move. It felt like it was swelling and moving. Too much stress, I thought. Then for some reason, I raised my hand up and found a kind of wooden stick hanging above our bed. It was about as thick as a baguette and easy to hold on to. Now I was even more sure I must be somehow out of my mind. However, I took hold of the stick and suddenly I was flying, first in our bedroom, then in the house. I was afraid, but still somehow enjoyed that first lucid dream experience. So that's how she became lucidly aware. It was not that she saw something, she felt like the blankets were moving on her bed, that they were swelling and moving around. And that sort of situation helped clue her into, hey, this is a dream, I'm dreaming this. And so Stephen LaBerge would probably talk about that as kind of an experiential cue. I know sometimes in my lucid dreams, I'm walking down a sidewalk, I'll come up to a mud puddle, and I'm in a regular dream now, and I'm come up to the mud puddle and I decide to jump across it, but I'll glide for 10 or 15 feet. And then it occurs to me, wait, what am I doing gliding? Oh, this is a dream. And so sometimes the experience that we have sometimes can clue us in that, hey, this is a dream. So in Jana's case, what happened next is she could barely imagine this experience. And so she got on Facebook and started asking some of her friends, you know, have you ever had this kind of strange experience? And they told her that she was probably having lucid dreams. And so she began to investigate that. And she found my second book, the Finnish version that I co-authored with Anna Riihimäki in Helsinki. And she began to read it and began to have lucid dreams. She said that the great thing about it was that at the very beginning, she might have 1 or 2 lucid dreams a month. But then as she started to read up on them and realize some of the techniques and become more comfortable with the idea, she began to have lucid dreams about twice a week. And she says she has them about twice a week, and unless she's under a lot of stress. So the great thing about it, she said, was that it was fun in lucid dreams to realize that not only could you be the director of the activity, but you could also be the star in your own lucid dream if you wanted to do that. So I asked her some other questions like, what do you like about lucid dreaming? She writes, as a blind person, I felt surprised that I can do things in lucid dreams like fly, ride a motorbike, spring into a swimming pool, and even breathe under the water. Flying, whether in our house or in some kind of place or dimension that I don't really understand, is fascinating. The way the flying device comes to me, making me know I am lucid dreaming, is just fantastic. And what she means there again is oftentimes in her lucid dreams, if she'll reach up, there'll be something in the air above her, which she calls the flying stick, that will take her around and move her. Now, what I find interesting about that, it happened in the very first lucid dream that she ever had. So it's not like her conscious mind created it, but somehow her unconscious mind created it. And when you think about blind people, oftentimes blind people learn to get down a city street by having a walking cane or a tapping cane that they can tap and kind of hear and feel the vibration of things and kind of maneuver down the sidewalk and stay on the sidewalk by using that cane. And so it's interesting here that in her very first lucid dream, her unconscious provides for her basically the equivalent of a cane or a walking stick, but of course it's above her. And this stick, however, allows her to fly. And I thought, boy, that's really just truly amazing. She went on to say one thing she liked about lucid dreaming: since last summer, I've been meeting interesting people in my lucid dreams, mostly a small, about a 3 foot tall, very cheerful, friendly, laughing woman who talks with a Mickey Mouse voice. So imagine that. What she's finding in many of her lucid dreams, there's one dream figure there who she can distinguish because it has a funny Mickey Mouse voice. And she said that she talked so much in her lucid dreams that she was sure that she was waking up her husband laying in bed, but he would tell her in the morning, no, you hadn't said anything. So I'm just going to go on with this interview a little bit just to get to a little bit more about this. So one time she decided to ask this woman with the Mickey Mouse voice, who are you? And why are you here? And she said, yes, I asked, who are you? And she told me her name is Ali. Unfortunately, I haven't asked her yet where she comes from and why. I will do that as soon as I meet her again. And then I put into the Google Translate Ali, A-I-L-I, and in Finnish, that name means bright shining light or holy and blessed. And so it's interesting that the dream figure produced this name, that's what it's named. And she goes on, a couple of times I have asked, who is driving the flying device? I received an answer only once. A female voice told me that it wouldn't matter. I then asked where the device is coming from. The answer is from the beginning. And the voice said, Alkuk adulta in Finnish, which has that meaning, from the beginning. Sounds a bit crazy, I know, but that's what she said. Also, it was interesting too, that she mentioned that this flying stick has changed over the course of her lucid dreaming. She said, she writes, the device is in almost all of my lucid dreams. When becoming lucid, I automatically raise my hands and find the device. At the beginning, January of 22, it was a wooden stick as thick as a baguette. Today, the stick can be anything possible. It could be made of metal, made of gum, covered with hair, covered with velvet, and sometimes has grips on it or rings to hold on to. She writes, I'm a big lady who can't be lifted off the bed with a small stick. I try to tell myself that in lucid dreams, my weight doesn't matter. As soon as I'm out of the bed in my lucid dreams, mostly, I fly successfully. Sometimes the stick has buttons, which I push, hoping that they will turn gravity off. The biggest problem with the device is that I don't trust it. I'm sure I'm too heavy, and although I'm having a lucid dream, it seems like the gravity is stronger. I'm now trying to find some additional techniques in order to be able to fly. So anyway, I just wanted to give you kind of that introductory viewpoint of another person's experience in lucid dreaming. They've been blind since birth, and they have been able to have lucid dreams here in the last year and a half. And it's interesting how that even though they can't look around and visually see anything other than just the most bright light and darkness, most of the time they're in darkness unless there's some bright light. She did notice also that in this interview that occasionally, sometimes in her lucid dreams, it would begin because she would start seeing a flickering light. And for her as a blind person, that's very unusual. And then that clues her in that, oh, maybe I'm dreaming. And then she'll reach up. And if she feels the flying stick, then she'll grab that and know that she's having a lucid dream. But anyway, I just wanted to share that as just one example. Again, you can go to luciddreammagazine.com. You can just click on this issue, read the articles. Of course, we have a lot of lucid dreams over the last 20 years and a lot of past issues that you can read as well. And there in the Lucid Dreaming Experience magazine, we also have special issues. Sometimes we'll discuss something like fear in lucid dreams and how you resolve that. Or we'll talk about other aspects of lucid dreaming that people like to get into. So what I'm going to do now is open it up for questions, if that's okay. And I have some questions that Jake from the World of Lucid Dreaming submitted to me from some of his participants, his members. So one thing that somebody wanted to ask first, Landon, he asked, why are my dreams cut short? And so, Landon, I don't know if you're talking about your lucid dreams or your regular dreams, but for a lot of beginners, that's one of their biggest issues is why are their lucid dreams so short? And a lot of us know who have been lucid dreamers for a long time is that one of the main things that'll happen when we become lucidly aware, especially as a beginner, is that we'll get so excited that we'll wake ourselves up. And so that's a commonality that's across the world. We get excited, we wake ourselves up. And so after you have that experience 3 or 4 times, then you pretty much learn that you cannot get too excited. You can get a little bit excited, but you can't get way too excited. Otherwise, you're going to wake up. So here's how I keep myself from getting too excited. I'll think that I'm getting too excited. I'll tell myself, calm down, stay calm. Any kind of inner command that I make to myself, like stay calm, calm down, it's almost like it immediately gets acted on in the lucid dream state. And you can even announce it in the lucid dream if you want to. Stay calm, calm down, stay cool, whatever it is. Normally that'll begin to reduce the amount of emotion. Also, another thing I've realized that if you are getting too excited because of what's happening in the lucid dream, like for example, let's say you hear a knock at your door, you go to the door and open it, and there's your favorite movie star holding a pizza. And all of a sudden you realize this has to be a dream because that person would no way they'd be delivering a pizza to me. But you're so excited to see your favorite movie star right in front of you at your doorstep. So what I do then in those moments, I quit looking at the movie star or whatever is getting me excited. I'll look at my hands, I'll look at the floor, I'll look at something boring just so I can turn away from the thing that's getting me so excited. And again, as long as you don't get too excited, you'll stay in the lucid dream. But if you get way too excited, you're going to pop out. So those are normally the ways that I learn to deal with it. Now, one thing that I have noticed, because I give a lot of online workshops and given workshops all around the world, sometimes people, they come to believe and expect that the lucid dream can only last, for like 30 seconds. And so if they're going to do something, they got to do it really quick because it's only going to last for 30 seconds. And so what's happening there, I think, is that once you develop that kind of belief, then you become the prisoner of your own belief. If you believe that the lucid dream can only last for 30 seconds, then you have set up an expectation effect that you'll probably experience in the lucid dream. So you've got to change that belief. And a belief is just a habit or an idea that we entertain in our minds quite frequently. So we have to change that. One way to do it, you can read Lucid Dreams by other lucid dreamers in this magazine. And when you realize that, oh, their lucid dream is going on for 4 or 5, 10 minutes or whatever, then all of a sudden you realize that having a longer lucid dream is just natural. Other people are doing it. Even though you've had this belief that lucid dreams are only supposed to last 30 seconds, it's just a belief that you have. So again, Landon, that's a great question. Thanks for submitting that. Here's another question that someone sent in. How do you deal with fear? Okay, so I think that's really a big, heavy kind of question. So I assume that's there's kind of two kinds of fear that we're dealing with here. Sometimes people have a fear of what might happen if they became lucidly aware. You know, what if I became lucidly aware and met a bunch of zombies? What would I do? Or what if I became lucidly aware and something really bad happened? What would I do? So again, you really have to begin to work with this and think about it, because what the mind is holding on to is probably going to be projected out there into the lucid dream experience. So here's how I deal with fear. First, if I'm lucid, I remind myself that I'm in a lucid dream. And so let's say there's a zombie there who looks like it's going to eat me, or a giant monster, or whatever, some angry dream figure or something like that. So first I'll realize, okay, I'm in a lucid dream and I can see that this thing is nasty or angry or full of hate or whatever. But that's when I decide I'm going to change my response to that fearful dream figure. So if it's full of anger and hate, I'll send it love and compassion. And here's what normally happens. Like one time I became lucidly aware, and here's a angry Rottweiler dog just growling at me and really nasty looking. And so what I did, I began to send it love and compassion. And when I did that, it began to shrink and become smaller. So what I was seeing, that as my mind changed, it changed. And that's a wonderful thing, because then you'll see that as my mind changes, as I send it love and compassion, it begins to change. Then it's likely, obviously, a product of my mind. My mind changed and it changed. So that's a wonderful thing to see. Also, when it comes to just regular fears that you might have, again, I think when you read the experience of other people, 99% of people, I think, are having very positive lucid dream experiences. And when you begin to see that, then you'll know that that there's really nothing there to fear. So you can kind of talk yourself during the day that there's nothing to fear. So I'm going to go to the Q&A and look at some of the questions here. I think I see some coming up. Okay. So Abdul asked, after we wake up from an incomplete dream, how do we continue it from there again? Please suggest an idea. So I'll give you an idea, and that's a practice that we call dream reentry. This is something that I discovered probably 30 years ago. And then I began to talk to some of my lucid dreaming friends, and they had also discovered the same technique called dream reentry. And so what dream reentry, this is how it works, Abdul. So let's say you're having a very interesting dream or a lucid dream, and then you wake up from it and you want to re-enter that same dream. So this is what almost everyone has learned. First, you have to put your body in the exact position it was when you woke up. So if your hand was on your chest and the other hand was over here, you've got to put your body in the same exact position it was as when you woke up. Then what you want to do is begin to remember the last 15 or 30 seconds of that dream that you were in. And just quietly, as your eyes are closed, just begin to replay in your mind that last 30 seconds of the dream or lucid dream that you just woke up from. Just play it over again and again. And then as you allow yourself to fall asleep, suddenly it's like that dream restarts up again, or lucid dream restarts up again. It might skip like you skipped 30 seconds in a videotape, but suddenly you're lucidly aware in this dream that's started up again. Now, sometimes you might find that you'll have to play with this a little bit. Sometimes I found that in the lucid, that when I woke up, I got my body back in the same position, but as I recalled the last 30 seconds of that dream that I'd just woken up from, I would now imagine that I was like viewing the dream from the fireplace or the lamp or the chair over there, that I was seeing it from a different vantage point. And sometimes again, I would just keep repeating it, seeing the dream, seeing it. And all of a sudden the dream would start up again, like it had skipped 30 seconds, and I'd be lucidly aware in the new dream. So that's what we call dream reentry. And it's a technique that we can use to re-enter a lucid dream, or just even an interesting dream that we woke up from. So thanks, Abdul, for asking that question. So Danielle writes, sir, can you please advise methods to create objects and people in dreams? Because no matter how hard I try, I'm still not able to create things. Okay, so Danielle, here's what I've learned in these 40 some years of lucid dreaming, is that if you want to create something in a lucid dream, you have to use your mind. And by that, you have to use your beliefs and expectations in order for something to be created. So first, you might want to think, okay, what would be easy to create? So it might be easy to create a dog or a cat instead of creating the prime minister or a spiritual figure. I mean, they're way up there, they're powerful people, but a dog and a cat, dog and cats are everywhere. So here's what you do. You become lucidly aware, you stay calm, you stabilize the lucid dream. And then I would look around and I would just announce that when I open up that door over there, I'll find a friendly dog. When I open up that door over there, I'll find a friendly dog. Then I'd go over to that building, open up the door, and there will likely be a friendly dog. So again, what you're doing, it's kind of like we do in hypnosis. We have a suggestion. When I open that door, then I'll find a friendly dog. So you're creating the conditions for your belief and expectation to be realized. When I open that door, I'll find a lovable cat or whatever it is. And then you go over to the door and you're much more likely to create it. So again, in lucid dreaming, what we really learn as we go deeper and deeper is how the mind creates. If I don't believe a dog or cat will be there, then there's not going to be a dog or a cat. But if I believe that, oh, dogs and cats are common, they're everywhere, I can believe a dog will be there, I can believe a cat will be there. If you approach it with a positive expectation, a positive belief, then you're much more likely to create it, to achieve it. So again, that's what I would do if I were you, and begin to become aware of how you have to use your mind, the beliefs and expectations in order to create things. Okay, then we have a question from Ida Rodriguez. Robert, the sense of time in dreams is different in dreams, lucid or not. Even so, can you tell us about the longest dreams that you have had? Okay, thanks, Ida. This is really an interesting question because I remember there is research done by Stephen LaBerge. And so he brought lucid dreamers into the sleep lab and he told them, okay, when you become lucid, move your eyes left to right 8 times so we'll know that you're lucidly aware. And then when you begin the experiment, move your eyes left to right 4 times. And when you end the experiment, move your eyes left to right 4 times. And the experiment was count to 10 in the lucid dream. And so he brought in some of his favorite lucid dreamers. They signaled they were lucidly aware in the dream state. They signaled that they were beginning the experiment. They counted to 10 and they signaled again. And in clock time, that 10 seconds that they counted turned out to be 11 seconds in clock time. So in that state, or in that experiment at least, linear time and dream time were connected. They were 1-to-1. But here's where this gets to be different. There's been other people, the alarm clock rings, they wake up, they think, oh, I'm going to push the snooze. That'll give me 8 minutes to sleep. And as they fall asleep, all of a sudden something happens and they realize, hey, this is a dream. I'm dreaming this. And then they go on and have an incredible lucid dream adventure. And then what happens? After 8 minutes, the snooze alarm goes off again, and they hear that. So they claim that the lucid dream was so long, it felt like 20 minutes of lucid dreaming. They felt like they were in this incredibly deep, rich, profoundly experiential, very long lucid dream. But they can tell by the snooze that at the most, they were asleep for 8 minutes. So here's where we get into what I would call psychological time. Sometimes psychological time isn't keeping pace with linear time, with clock time. And so in psychological time, when we're really immersed and really deeply into something, things can seem to last forever. I've told people in my workshops, once I was in a car, in a convertible car, I didn't have on a seatbelt. We went into the ditch and I flew out of the car. And when I flew out of the car in waking reality, time slowed down. I was acutely aware of each second, which lasted a very long time, because I could see that I'm going to fly into a barbed wire fence. And I'm slowly flying towards the barbed wire fence, but my mind was really thinking, observing, thinking about what to do here, how to respond to all of this. And it took a lot of time. So again, we see psychological time sometimes even in the waking experience. So when it comes to your question, Ida, I remember talking to one of Stephen LaBerge's research assistants, and she said that one time she was in the sleep lab when they had a lucid dreamer there, and the lucid dreamer for 45 minutes would signal intermittently with his eyes that he was consciously aware within the dream state. And she told me that she was so blown away that he would just keep signaling, and they had the other measures that confirmed that he was in the sleep state. She said she was just blown away that he was able to stay lucid for 45 minutes and keep signaling that he was lucid so that they knew that he hadn't lost it. So thank you for that question. Okay, Hamish has a very long question. I've been practicing for a few months now and only went lucid very briefly in a flying episode. Yes, I woke up. Since then, no lucidity at all. I've had very vivid dreams since my early teens. I'm now 70 years old. Since beginning to practice, my dreams are more often remembered and I keep a journal. They're mostly of a spiritual nature and I understand the meaning of them immediately. I have recurring dreams of my meditation master who passed away a number of years ago. I feel like he is absolutely there, but only when I awaken. My purpose is to use lucid dreaming to increase the focus of my spiritual practice. What can I do to recognize that I'm in the dreaming realm? I've tried a number of strategies to no avail. Should I decide on like rubbing hands, spinning, or keep experimenting? I try to be patient. Okay, so again, thank you for that question. Here's what I would say. There's a number of valid lucid dreaming practices. There's probably about 20 altogether. I would make sure that I'm using one that has a high likelihood of helping a person achieve lucid dream awareness. You know, there's some practices that literally take about a month before they become active and before you even have your first lucid dream. That's a long time of practice to just have before you have one lucid dream. So I would look at the practice and maybe find a better practice to help you achieve lucidity. Then one thing that I realized is that I had to also change my waking thinking. I had to become more lucid in the waking state if I wanted to have more lucid dreams. So again, in most dreams, we lack any sense of critical awareness. You know, we might be there with our spiritual master, but it never occurs to us that, oh yeah, he died 5 years ago. Or what's he doing here? He lives in China. I'm here in Florida. What's he doing? We never ask questions. So one thing that I'd ask you to do is be more mindfully aware in the waking state and begin to ask yourself questions like, how did I get here? Where is this place? Ask yourself that question in the waking state, and you'll begin to elevate your critical awareness, your questioning, because again, in regular dreams, we normally lack critical awareness. If the Queen of England is here doing my dishes in the kitchen, hey, that's great. She's doing the dishes. I don't like to do dishes. The Queen of England's here is doing it. Oh, but wait a second, didn't she pass away? Oh gosh, I guess she did pass away. And what would she be doing in my town anyway? And how did she get into our house? We normally don't ask those kind of questions, but when we do, we become lucid. So again, I don't know what techniques you're using, but one thing, you have to be more mindfully aware in the waking state, and that'll help prime the pump, so to say. So thanks for that. Okay, anonymous attendee. What's the most insightful thing you can do or you personally like to do during a lucid dream? So that's a great question. When it comes to insightful thing, what I like to do is this. So I become lucid. I don't get too excited. I enhance my awareness. I maintain my focus. I keep recalling that, oh, this is a dream. I'm dreaming this. And once I've stabilized the lucid dream like that, then normally the most insightful thing comes when I reach out to my unconscious mind. And so what I do, I don't talk to a dream figure. I just look up and I'll ask a question of my unconscious mind. Hey, dream, show me something important for me to see. And sometimes the entire lucid dream will change. Or I remember one time I asked, hey, dream, show me my life as if it was a painting. And then in the sky above me appears a 90-foot by 30-foot painting. And I thought, that was less than half of a second to create a 90-foot by 30-foot painting. It just blew my mind how my unconscious has such fantastic creativity that it could respond to my request and create a 90-foot by 30-foot painting in a half second. It's just utterly profound. And so I find that interacting with this inner awareness, this unconscious mind, I find it utterly fascinating, because not only can you ask to see things, but you can also ask, let me experience this, that, or the other. Let me experience unconditional love. I've told people in workshops and all about doing that, and people have their minds blown when they ask to, instead of trying to go find a divine figure, they just ask to experience the quality of the divine. Let me experience unconditional love. And sometimes the resulting experience is so utterly profound. So that's what I find the most insightful thing to do in a lucid dream. Now, second to that would be this. I always encourage people in lucid dreams, you have to realize that all dream figures are not created equal. And so the best thing you can do is ask a dream figure, who are you? What do you represent? When you give it a chance, when you ask, who are you? You give it a chance to tell you who it is. And a lot of times I found in my early years of lucid dreaming, I would just say, do you know I'm dreaming you? And the dream figures would look so depressed, like, oh, you are so stupid, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that. And sometimes there's reports of dream figures arguing with lucid dreamers, like, how do you know I'm not dreaming you? And so that would be another insightful approach. Instead of telling dream figures what they are, ask them an open-ended question. Who are you? What do you represent? And sometimes it'll blow your mind when you hear the response. Okay. Jake provided one from Arda. My question relates to two possible reasons you mentioned in your book to explain why a lucid dreamer might not be able to achieve a goal. Sometimes it is limiting beliefs. And in that case, when we push through and work on the limiting beliefs and change the beliefs, we can achieve the goal. But sometimes you suggest the dream refuses to oblige, as in the case of Ed Kellogg's request to see hyperstring. We just get a refusal or a lack of response. So my question is, do you have some tips on how to recognize which response is a plain don't bother versus you got to work on your beliefs so as to avoid wasting precious lucid dreams on a refused goal? Okay, that's a wonderful question. Thank you, Arda, for asking that. So here's what I would say. Let's say you become lucidly aware, you stabilize the lucid dream, and then you make some request or ask for something, and nothing happens, just nothing. What I would suggest is this. First, sometimes the wording of the request makes a huge difference. In my first book, I talked about an artist. He would become lucidly aware, and he would ask to look for art that he could create. And he would spend the entire lucid dream looking for art that he could create. And it finally occurred to him that maybe he should change his request. So then he'd become lucid and he'd say, now let me look at art I can create. And suddenly art would appear on the walls. So you see, he just changed the wording just a little bit. He went from let me see art, let me look for art that I could create, let me look for it. And then he went to let me look at art I can create. When he went to let me look at art I can create, that's when it began to appear on the nearby walls and surfaces. The other approach never worked. And it didn't work because his wording was not specific, not clear enough. So that's the first thing. You always have to look at your wording. Then the second thing, if you feel like you have excellent wording and it's very clear and direct, then what I would say is if you've tried 3 times and struck out every time, then I would give it up. I would give up that kind of request and just feel that somehow you're being blocked. The second thing, when it comes to Ed Kellogg's experience, just to explain to everybody, Ed Kellogg's a wonderful lucid dreamer who I've known for 25 years now. And he learned sometimes to reach out and make requests of his unconscious mind. So he was interested in modern physics, the idea of hyperstrings, and he announced that he wished to experience a hyperstring in his lucid dream. And a non-visible voice replied, "You do not seem ready for an experience of this magnitude at this time." So basically, this non-visible voice, which you could call his unconscious mind or his inner awareness, told him he wasn't ready. And then it told him that he seemed too unfocused and distracted. And then it told him that he could try again when he was ready for the immensity of such an experience. So again, when you have some of these conceptual experiences, they are really profound, and they'll really surprise you, the strange feelings that you feel. So to the question, Arda, if you get a response from your larger awareness, either a symbolic response, like a big stop sign or a no or whatever, a big red no appears, then I would say that you're being told not to pursue this. Sometimes you might hear a vocalized response, as Ed Kellogg did. But again, I'd look at the wording. If you try a new wording and strike out, then I just let it go. Okay, from Pamela. Have you found any dietary supplements that are useful for stimulating lucid dreams? For instance, I've heard that glantamine can be useful to assist. So here's the thing. There's herbal supplements out there. There's a lot of them. And you have to realize that people have a reason to sell them because they want to make money. But oftentimes when you read about some of these herbal supplements, they're to help you have very vivid dreams. So just because I have a vivid dream doesn't mean I've had a lucid dream. They're just, a vivid dream is vivid. It's just colorful and sharp and intense, but it's not lucid. I didn't realize within the dream I'm dreaming. So some of those things, mugwort and all these kind of things, when you get down to the fine print, they'll say that it helps with vivid dreams. But then they'll let the customers who bought, "Oh, I had a lucid dream and this was great." But anyway, most supplements, most herbs do not help. Now, there is some scientific research about this herbal supplement called glantamine. It's a natural supplement that comes from red spider lilies and other lily family herbs. Here's the one thing I'd say about it. To me, I think it's a very powerful herb. And so you don't want to take it and then expect the next day to feel normal. For me, I feel kind of like I've expended a lot of energy. But there's been a fair amount of research that shows that glantamine seems to help some people have a lucid dream. You do not take it when you fall asleep. You take it after you've been sleeping for 4 or 5 hours, and then you take it. If you take it when you fall asleep, you'll have the worst night of sleep that you've ever had. But it seems to help some people. The only thing that I would say is some people report when they have glantamine-induced lucid dreams that it's a chemically influenced lucid dream. So it's not a typical lucid dream. It's not what I would call a normal lucid dream. It has qualities that make it a little bit different. So I'm not a big fan of supplements. I think people should learn how to lucid dream by using their mind, because lucid dreaming is really an education in the mind. So thanks for that question. Okay. But back to Pamela's question, though, if you want to have good dream recall, one thing, some people have a vitamin B deficiency, and vitamin B is connected with memory and all. And so sometimes just taking a vitamin B supplement before you go to sleep might help you have more memorable dreams and help you recall those dreams. So, and vitamin B is something that we all need. So Jeannie says, dream symbols. There are so many opinions and definitions. Are there experiences in your dream and you observe are just personal to you? Or is the higher self speaking to you? Thank you. So, dream symbols are a pretty complex area. And that's why I always encourage people in a lucid dream, when you're working with a dream figure, ask it, who are you? Like a young man wrote me, he said he'd been having a recurring nightmare once a week. And so that week it occurred and he had been reading one of my books. And all of a sudden he thought, wait a second, this is that recurring nightmare of being chased. And so he became lucidly aware. And he did what I encourage people to do in my books. He turned and he asked the figure, who are you? And the figure replied, I am your fear of boredom. And the lucid dreamer was just blown away. And when he woke up, he realized that he did have a fear of boredom. You know, whenever he was out and about, he was always looking at his phone, doing this, that, and the other, always had his phone, blah, 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 and he realized that he didn't want to be bored, didn't want to look bored, didn't want to appear bored. He was always staying active. And he realized that he did actually have a fear of boredom. And so he learned to kind of deal with that it was kind of showing him that he could never relax. He could never take it easy. He could never shut down. He could never put it into neutral because he had this fear. So that's why I always encourage people to ask. And then you'll see that some dream figures respond and will tell you what they represent. Now to your other point, though, sometimes when I've had very lucid dream figures, very aware dream figures, sometimes I would point to things in the lucid dream and ask them to explain its symbolic meaning. Why is that in this dream? And they would explain what it meant. Normally, I'd have to point at something important, and they would explain what the dream symbols meant. And so I thought that was just truly profound to have a very knowledgeable dream figure. All dream figures vary, so you got to wait for a really knowledgeable dream figure. But when you have one that can explain what the dream symbols represent, that's really amazing. But there are some wonderful books on dream interpretation. The books by Gail Delaney, Delaney, wonderful books. Patricia Garfield, she's another psychotherapist like Gail Delaney was in the Bay Area. Patricia Garfield wrote The Universal Dream Key, which is another wonderful book on dream interpretation. So thank you. So anyway, Liz has a question here. She says, I have lucid dreams once or twice each month, but I could probably have many more if I could get around this obstacle. In some dreams, I suspect that I am dreaming. And when I perform a reality check, I tend to convince myself most of the time that I'm not dreaming, no matter how bizarre the dream content is. Any tips for how to get around this? So that's a wonderful question, Liz. Thank you. So like a lot of us have experienced, sometimes our reality checks don't work. So I've had experiences, I put up my hand and I try to put my finger through my hand and it won't go. It just seems so darn solid. And it's a false reality check. I am in a dream, but my reality check is not working. So what I would suggest, always have 2 or 3 reality checks. If one doesn't work, try another one. So one I like is I put out my finger and I begin to pull it. And if this finger keeps getting longer and longer, then I'm in a dream. Or I'll jump up into the air. And if I float or float down like a feather, then I'll know, hey, this is a dream. Or I learned a good one when I was giving a workshop in Prague in the Czech Republic. One of the people told me that he puts his fingers in what they call the sword position in Taoism. And in what he thinks is the lucid dream, he'll point at something and then he'll go like that. And normally the light pole will fall over or the tree will fall over or the book will move. And then he knows, okay, if it's bending to my will, then this is definitely a lucid dream. But one thing that I would say, Liz, is that I only do reality checks in about 1 out of 30 or 40 lucid dreams. Normally, like you say, it's just obviously too bizarre. This has to be a dream. Oh, I'm there with my deceased grandmother. Wait a second, she's deceased. I don't need to do a reality check. This is obviously a dream. Or Tom Cruise is at the front door delivering pizza. I don't need to do a reality check. It's Tom Cruise. This is a dream. So I would say, if you already know it's a lucid dream, no need to do a reality check. That's the rule that I live by. So Leslie says, I rationalize in my dreams all the time. Do you have any suggestions for moving from the point of rationalization into a lucid dream that I can control? So I think what you're trying to say there is you'll explain away crazy circumstances like, oh, the Queen of England is doing my dishes because that's what queens do, or she's here visiting me because she got tired of all the trouble in the royal family or whatever. And so we make those kind of rationalizations, and even though they're incredible, we just go along with them. So again, one thing that I've taught myself to do, or one approach I've used to lucid dreaming, is to make a suggestion. Like, tonight in my dreams, I'll be more lucidly aware. And when I are more critically aware, and when I notice something strange, I'll realize I'm dreaming. So tonight in my dreams, I'll be more critically aware. And when I notice something strange, I'll realize I'm dreaming. So I'm telling myself to be more critically aware. And when I notice something strange, oh, what's the Queen of England doing in our house here? Then I'll think, oh, this is a dream. This has to be a dream. So rationalization is just because we've learned to accept everything, and we'll find that even during the day, we don't question things. Why is that guy doing that? I don't care. I'm not even going to question it. So if you question things more in your waking state, then you'll begin to question things more in the dream state. And so I think we'll have one final question before we wrap it up for the night. One thing that I did want to say, if you like this kind of event, then I hope you'll go to the World of Lucid Dreaming Facebook page and encourage Jake to have another one of these events next month where people can get together and ask questions about lucid dreaming. And we can begin as things develop to make this more engaging, more not so much me talking. I'll get a helper who can let people into the chat room and they can ask questions personally. So if you have an interest in that, be sure and put a message on the World of Lucid Dreaming Facebook site. But so Abdul asks, please mention a few points about healings of physical ailments through lucid dreaming. Thank you. So Stephen LaBerge, I think, brought up the proof of concept for the idea of trying to heal the physical body in a lucid dream. So some of you might remember that he did lucid dream research where he had the lucid dreamers become lucid, signal with their eyes. Then he told them to clench their fist in an alternating fashion, right, left, right, left, right, left. And he had sensors on their arms in the lucid dream that would see if there's any muscle movement. And of course, there was muscle movement in the forearms. Then he noticed, okay, we signal with our lucid dream eyes that we're dreaming, but what happens? Our physical eyes move, and that's the eye signal verification technique. Then he brought people into the sleep lab and he said, okay, when you become lucid, start singing. And then he could see that their right brain hemisphere became more active, and singing is connected with the right brain hemisphere. Then he had other lucid dreamers come in. When you become lucidly aware, begin to do math, do counting, and their left brain hemisphere became more active. So you see there the proof of concept that actions that you perform in the lucid dream have some sort of effect on the physical body. And so back in 1987, Jane Gackenbach and Stephen LaBerge did a survey in a prominent magazine at the time called Omni Magazine, and asked people about their lucid dreaming experiences. And one of the questions was, have you ever healed yourself in a lucid dream? And so they got back, I think, 63 reports that they felt were valid of people who had used lucid dreaming to eliminate migraines, menstrual cramps, ankle problems, hives, some other skin conditions, and various things. And so obviously, you know, Stephen LaBerge has been thinking about this for a long time, and a lot of lucid dreamers have practiced this. What I would suggest, Abdul, if you become lucidly aware, first, don't get too excited, stay calm, stabilize the lucid dream, then remind yourself, what did I want to do in a lucid dream? And then if you want to heal yourself, then it helps to have a plan already figured out in the waking state. So what I've seen a lot of people do is they would create a ball of healing light between their hands. So in the lucid dream, you're imagining healing energy between your hands. You might see it as light, it might just be energy. And then put that healing energy over your bad knee or your heart or whatever needs healing, intending for it to be healed and believing and expecting it. And I think people like Charlie Morley suggest that you should even thank the divine for the healing or whatever. But that's how I would go about approaching it. You have to act in the lucid dream. You can put healing energy in your hand, then put your hand to the part of the body that needs healing, or do something like that. That's how I would approach it. But again, we've come to the top of the hour here. And so first I want to thank Jake Thompson and all the people who've come, and I appreciate all the chat questions and all. You know, what you might want to do is put some of these questions up on the World of Lucid Dreaming Facebook page. And I'll promise tomorrow I'll come there and I'll spend 30 minutes responding to the questions there. But again, my thanks to World of Lucid Dreaming for this event. I know Jake at World of Lucid Dreaming is going to put it up on the YouTube so people can watch it. So again, thanks everyone for coming. And I did want to share just one fortune cookie that I picked up when I had my favorite meal at a Chinese restaurant. The fortune cookie reads, education is not filling a bucket. Education is lighting a fire. And so I hope this kind of episode helps you kind of light your fire, light your renewed interest into lucid dreaming, and helps lucid dreaming become more common, more easy to practice, and longer and more stable. So thanks, everyone. Good night.